Oh, yeah, I can see that.
See if you did that. I sent it from my North College Hill versus.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of North College Hill City Council. We will, as always, start off with our prayer for the NCH City Council. God, our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can with your help and guidance. We pray this in your name. Amen.
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 Call this meeting to order. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I would like to first welcome our newest member, Ms. Arius Dukes-Dean. Welcome tonight.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone.
Ms.
Hello.
Dukes-Dean is taking the seat that was previously occupied by Ms. Bailey after her resignation. All right, and with that, Ms. DeWall, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean,
Yes, I'm here.
Ms. Blythe,
Here.
Ms. Underwood. Here. Mr. Miller Novak,
I am present.
Ms. Zorb,
Here.
Ms. Hartman,
Here.
and Ms. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. President, all seven members are present.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. You do have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I'll motion to adopt tonight's agenda for May 3rd, 2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Underwood to adopt tonight's agenda. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean,
Here.
Yeah, it's yes or no at this point.
Oh, yes, sorry.
that's all right.
It happens.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 7-0.
Thank you. You also have the minutes from the council meeting on 4/19/2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I'll move to adopt the meeting minutes from April 19th, 2021.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Zorb to adopt the minutes from the meeting on April 19th, 2021. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
one side note. Mr. ICRC, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Can you turn that up just a skosh? Do you have that control? I can barely hear, I don't know how anybody else, but I can
I'm
barely hear
struggling.
them.
There we go.
Can somebody on
better?
TV say something?
Is that better?
Ooh,
Hello?
not much.
A little, yeah.
Here, I'll just take the remote with me and I'll change channels as we go, just in case.
Change channels.
Thank you.
All right. So Motion by Ms. Anderson, second from Ms. Zorb to adopt the minutes from April 19th. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes Dean,
Yes.
yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe? Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Hartman?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to adopt the minutes passes 7-0.
Thank you. And now we're up to communications. So whenever you're ready, Ms. DeWald.
We have a letter from CareCorps, and my apologies to council. I received this letter like the last week of April, or maybe, anyway, because of the transference of the computers, my files and stuff, I didn't catch it. So this is from CareCorps at Lake Ridge in support of the fire levy. And they just wanted to make sure that council knew how they felt about that. The other piece that we have is a notice to the legislative authorities. It's titled Objections to Renewal of a Liquor Permit. And all this states is that those that sell liquor in North College Hill, I'm quite sure they probably received this letter, that they have until July 1st to renew their liquor license. That's what that letter's all about. And then the final thing that we have was the April Mayor's Court Report. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the clerk? All right, we'll move on to council committee reports. First up, city, community development, and recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did not meet since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is May 10th at 6:30.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next is budget and finance.
Yeah. I was going to say something degrading to Miss Anderson for not doing anything since last meeting, but we didn't either. So I can't. So we did not meet since the last meeting. We were meeting next Monday after Miss Anderson's meeting at 7:30 right here.
Thank you, Mr. Miller Novak. Next is rules and public policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on Monday, April 26th at 6:30 p.m. We had a brief discussion about legislative procedure, specifically using videos as meeting minutes. Mr. Miller Novak advised us that this is still a gray area within the law, but that he advised us that we probably should not use videos as minutes. He said that most people don't want to watch an hour-long meeting to find out what happened at the meeting. So practically speaking, minutes are better. And Ms. Underwood suggested that we just forward the minutes to whomever keeps the documents on the website. From there, we just had a very long and detailed discussion about the council rules and some of the changes that we would like to see with regard to the council rules. We weren't able to really finish going through all of the council rules. We plan to continue the discussion with regard to the council rules. Our thinking is that because most council members, actually Ms. Dukesting was present there as well, but all of the council members are a member of that committee, so it wasn't necessary to have a meeting, a committee of the whole meeting to discuss amending the council rules. So we will continue to kind of discuss that. We didn't really have any new business or action items. And our next meeting will be the fourth Monday, or no, the third Monday in May, whatever that is, at 6:30.
It will be the fourth Monday in May, and that is the 24th.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Underwood. Next up, public safety.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. So for our public safety meeting, we discussed the Sundale Avenue project. We asked, several members asked Mr. Mosby questions about the Sundale Avenue project. We then referred that particular piece of legislation to the council for the council agenda to be discussed on the council agenda. And we would just, the committee does encourage, if anyone has any questions about the Sundale Avenue project before we vote on that piece of legislation, to please just ask Mr. Mosby. He was very knowledgeable about that. We had a presentation about effective staffing of emergency medical calls from Joe Plackey of the North College Hill Fire Department. There was a video, and in the video, it showed what, how if there's 2 people responding, if there's 3 people responding, and if there's 4 people responding. And needless to say, if there's a 4-person team responding, that, it's much more efficient, safer for the emergency medical personnel, as well as the citizen who's being helped. And there's a significant time difference between having the 4 people respond and having only 2 people respond. He also answered some questions for us about that. That was pretty much all we had an opportunity to talk about. We're still under old business. We still have the traffic calming study that we intend to follow up on. Also speed humps that we intend to follow up on, with it being warmer outside in the summertime. And no new business. And our next meeting will be, I presume, May 24th. I think that's what I heard Mr. Raver say.
At 7:30, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Underwood. All right, are there any ad hoc reports? All right, I hear no ad hoc reports, so we'll move on to the administrative reports. Good evening, Ms. Nichols. It's time
Good
for the mayor's
evening.
report.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to just encourage everyone to go out and vote tomorrow. I know it's not our regular time in November, but it is our May voting. So I would just like for everyone to encourage everyone to go out and vote at their polling location. And to remind everyone that the cleanup day has been rescheduled to May 15th, rain or shine. I think the rain, that really didn't happen until after the fact, the last time it was scheduled, but I think we're going to go ahead and move forward either way. This next announcement is for anyone, especially for Ms. Blythe. I know she wanted to come in and sit in on the CIC meeting. That next meeting is May 20th at 6:30 there in council chambers. I just wanted also to acknowledge that there is a new little quick stop store right there on Galbraith. Yes, right next to the
Right next to the Chinese place.
Chinese buffet, yeah, restaurant. Miss Underwood, they beat you to it, so you couldn't open that fish fry place yet. So we need to find you a new location. And from what I understand, where the old boot camp is, a new restaurant is moving in there soon. They're going to start renovations pretty soon. So I believe it's a chicken wing and place or something like that. And the last thing is that we have a police officer who's retiring, and we plan to do a proclamation for him on 5/17. Ms. D. Wild, I will get you the proper way so we have it on the agenda for the May 17th meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? All right, thank you. Next up is the city administrator's report. Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mayor, President, members of council. I'm certainly pleased to bring you this report for the first meeting of May 2021. Last week, the former Knothole baseball building was demolished. While I realize for some, the building represented memories of baseball in the community from years ago, the building unfortunately fell victim to dilapidation. The good news is that now it represents an opportunity for this generation's youth to create new memories with the proposed plans we have for the area. We're planning for a splash pad in that area along with new playground equipment. And I believe that Marshall Peter Dumley Memorial Park can be the nexus connecting the future of North College Hill with the present. And I want to personally thank council for the permission to move forward with the project. And I also want to thank our Public Works Department under the supervision of Marty Cole for successfully directing and expeditiously assisting with the demolition. I also learned today that the property located at 1571 West Galbraith Road, many of you may know that as the former Hollywood Video, has been officially sold. I've spoken with the new owner already, and he's expressed a willingness to work with us regarding future tenants for the property. I can say that I was encouraged by our conversation. We've also seen an increased usage of our electric vehicle charging station. In one recent instance, a vehicle owner used our station for over 16 consecutive hours to charge a new vehicle. While such usage looks to be an exception, it is very encouraging to see users take advantage of this convenient amenity located in the center of both our city and Hamilton County. Finally, as the mayor said, tomorrow's election day, and we have one issue on the ballot, the renewal of the street levy. Overall, I am greatly encouraged by some of the signs that I've been seeing in our community. I know that while many of the things that are happening are in their nascent stages, it is providing a glimpse of what we may be looking forward to in the years to come. And then I also wanted to let council know that I will be taking a personal day tomorrow. However, I will be available by telephone. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby. Any questions for the city administrator?
Mr. President,
Ms.
I'm
Nicholson?
sorry, if I may. I did forget one thing that I did want to mention is that we were looking into starting in May, starting back up the yard of the month for May, June, July, and possibly August. So I just wanted to put that out there. We're still working on the details and hopefully we can get everything out by next week. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb.
Mr. Mosby, I have a question. I was wondering if we've had any success at filling the vacancy that we have.
Which vacancy are you referring to, Ms. Zorb?
I thought someone
Tax department.
tax-ish finance group.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It has not been filled yet, no, but we are looking at someone who we believe will fill in very nicely, but that hasn't been formalized yet, and we haven't met with the person yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up is the law director's report, and I do not see the law director with us this evening. So that'll take us to the finance director's report.
Mr.
And I
President?
do not see the finance. Mr. Mosby.
Yes, I was going to say that the finance director informed me that she would not be able to come this evening. However, I can tell you that she has no report. There is going to be a report that will be given at the finance committee meeting. And also just to remind members of council that at that same meeting, there's going to be a public hearing for the tax budget for 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby. All right, next up is call of members, and we will start with our new member, Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Mr. Graves, perhaps we could start with somebody else to try to get her familiarized with this process.
Ms. Zorb has asked me to start with someone else to help familiarize you with this process, Ms. Dukestein. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right, so we will start with Ms. Blythe. You're next up.
I have no comments at this time, but I like to welcome Ms. Dukestein to council. Hello.
Thank you, Ms. Blythe. So we'll go around the
Thank you.
horn and come back to Ms. Dukestein. Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also would like to say welcome to Ms. Dukestein. And just to let you know, if you need anything, just feel free to either send me an email or shoot me a text message. I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to help. Text messaging is absolutely the best way to reach me, though. I would also like to say that the litter signs seem to be making a difference. There are those blue signs with the silver writing that say, you know, litter doesn't speak, but it says a lot about us. My son and I have noticed that there's not as much litter that seems to be on the ground as we used to see. And my twisted mind is because of those signs. So I would just like to say that I have noticed that. I think that the signs seem to be making a difference. And I also would like to remind everyone that May 4th, tomorrow, is an election day. And it is so important that we all vote to make our voices heard. We do have a street levy on the ballot tomorrow. It's a renewal levy. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Mr. Miller Novak.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to welcome Ms. Dukestein too. I don't think I have much to add besides that, except props to Ms. Zorb for saying the word skosh earlier. I hope that's included in the meeting minutes. I haven't heard that word in a long time, so I'm a fan of unusual vocabulary.
I'm here for
terms.
you.
I didn't catch
Thanks.
what he said.
He's giving me props for using the word scope.
It's
I
a
believe
pretty
Ms. DeWalt
awesome
is
word.
concerned. Yeah, I think Ms. DeWalt's concerned she doesn't know how to spell that.
It's
have to look at it.
SKOSH, and it means like just like a tad,
I'm
like a
going to
little bit
trust
more,
you.
like a little bit more.
I know what it
Okay.
means.
Like
All
a
right.
smidget.
Thank you, Mr. Miller Novak.
Smidget.
Yeah.
Ms. Zorb.
So that's it.
Skosh.
Ms. Zorb.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to start off pardon me, by saying welcome, Ms. Dukestein. And I, like Ms. Underwood, will be here to help you through any questions you have, any formalities you'd like to have any, I don't know, help with. I was going to use a different word and I changed my mind because Lord knows he's going to critique it if I use a different word. So I don't know if anyone happened to see their email. I was having trouble connecting, but I was able to send an email to council just moments before this meeting started, and I apologize for that late arrival. But what I'd like to talk about is I'm sure we are all aware that there is a third reading for the proposed 12 mil fire levy that will happen tonight. And what I'd like to point out to everyone is something that actually Ms. Blythe mentioned the very first committee meeting that we talked about. And I confess that I didn't quite understand where she was going with it until I had a more in-depth personal conversation with her and she explained to me her rationale. So I expect that maybe others didn't follow her reasoning. So I kind of put it together in a document, and that's what I just sent to council. So, and I apologize if I'm stealing any of your thunder, Ms. Blythe, but I'm going to try to explain it a different way that I could understand it, and hopefully somebody else can understand it this way. So, I don't know if anybody can see it or not, but in the presentation that was delivered to us by Chief Fells, it was mentioned that the number of mills would need to increase by 8.8 to a total of 12. And that would get him to what he proposed as his levy budget, which is, where's the number? His proposed budget is $1,331,904. The problem is, when he, and it's not a problem, it's just the changing of the guards, kind of, it's the timing. So during this same process was when the Hamilton County Auditor was doing their triennial assessment of our homes. So a significant amount of people's homes increased during the time period that we were deciding what millage to put on this levy. A very long story short is we could change the millage from 12 mil to 10.6 mil and still give Chief Fells the same exact budget that he proposed to us in this document.
That's what I was trying to say.
Instead, if we keep it at the 12 mil, we will be essentially overtaxing our residents by $175,000. And I hope that explains it a little bit better. At least it made sense to me. So I will give everyone time to think about that. You can certainly ask me questions or like I said, the document is in your email. But I also want to let you know that during, when we get to legislation, I am going to make a motion to move that legislation back to committee. And hopefully in committee, we can change that millage from 10.6. I don't know what all the ramifications are of that, if we have to go back to the county auditor, or I just don't know. But anyhow, I will be making that motion so that we do not potentially overtax our residents. Thank you.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Thank you, Ms. Zord. Ms. Hartman.
Hello, thank you. First off, welcome Duke Steen, and everyone remember to get out and vote. And that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I want to say thank you to our police officers. Big thank you to all of them. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Ms. Anderson?
Hello. Again, I'll reiterate what everybody else said. Welcome, Ms. Dukestein. It's good to have you. I'm excited. Again, vote tomorrow. It's very important. And then, if I may, really quickly, I'll give a short little life update. As many of you guys know, I'm still in college, and I'll actually be graduating in May, so I'm very excited about that. And I actually got hired already. I'll be a second grade teacher at Highlands in Hamilton. But don't worry, I'm not moving out of North College Hill. I know everybody was so worried. No, but I'm very excited that I get to do what I love for North College Hill and teach. So I just want to give you guys that little update. And then I actually have a quick question, if you guys don't mind. What does ad hoc stand for? When you guys say ad hoc report, what does ad hoc stand for?
It just means like in the moment. It's like case by case, right? It's
Perfect.
not, yeah, makes sense.
Yes, thank you. And that's all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson, and that's exciting news. Congratulations. All right, now, Ms. Dukestein, since I put you on the spot earlier, now you've had a chance to see what call of members is. It is your turn.
Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful welcome. I definitely do feel welcome.
We're losing your audio, Ms. Dukestein.
Better
We
now?
can hear you, and now, yep, there you go.
I said thank you very much for the warm welcome. I definitely do feel welcome, and I feel like you guys have all been very helpful at trying to get me caught up to speed, and everyone has extended themselves to be available to me with any questions or concerns. So I would like to thank you for your support there. Congratulations, Ms. Anderson, on your graduation from college. It's a huge accomplishment, and I just want to say thank everybody for the support.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dukestein. And yes, welcome. All right, that will bring us to legislation. Ms. DeWolf.
We have a first reading on Resolution 12, 2021, a resolution authorizing the city to execute a contract for improvements to Sundale Avenue in the city of North College Hill. And I know it's been discussed if we could add a little nickname to that so it more easily pinpoints what the legislation is for. And it's been improvements to the Sundale Avenue is the basis behind this legislation.
Mr. President,
We have a,
Ms. Underwood.
I move that we suspend the second and third reading of Resolution 12-2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson to suspend the second and third readings of Resolution 12-2021. Discussion.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to ask what the justification would be for that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson or Ms. Underwood.
my understanding, I'm just trying to answer Ms. Zorb's question. My understanding from Mr. Mosby is that this particular piece of legislation is time sensitive. So by the time we go through the normal process of 12 readings, I think that there's some kind of time sensitivity to that legislation. I think that he would be in a better position to explain what that is.
Mr. President.
Mr. Mosby.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Underwood is correct. The reason for the suspension of the readings would be because we are now into the construction season. And so by council passing this legislation, I mean, quite frankly, there were no objections that were discussed in committee. We would be able to execute the contract faster and allow them to get underway. There are definitely much needed improvements that need to occur, and we want to give the construction company as much time as they can, you know, to maximize or to be able to do as much as they can during the construction season. So that is the reason for the suspension of the readings.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe.
I had a question that I don't understand, Mr. Mosby. We were discussing that we were, I know this is just to approve to move forward with the contract, but our last meeting, we're $300,000 short in paving this, but we never could get any type of answer that if we needed a loan, how much it would be. There was no one would commit to that. So what I'm trying to understand is if they're going to move forward with this, how do they move forward on the street if we don't have enough money to do the street? I'm kind of confused. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President.
Mosby.
Okay, so as I had mentioned earlier when the bids were first open, we did have, the bids did come in higher than the original projection. I did explain that there were several factors that were involved with that. Inflation certainly was one of them. There was also another factor, which was the rerouting of some of the sewer lines so that the water would be able to flow away from the golf course instead of toward the golf course. However, what I also mentioned is that I gave a worst case scenario, assuming that everything, including the contingencies, would be included in the cost. Now I showed that, and when Loboido was done, Loboido was projected, but then came in significantly under what the original bid was. So if in the worst case scenario, every penny had to be consumed, including the contingencies, the money that we would end up using would be reserves that we already have, or some of the reserves that we have in our street fund. And then, of course, council would have to decide whether or not they would want to take a loan if it did require additional monies at that point. But as of right now, and of course it's very early because we haven't even started the project yet. Although I have already pointed out that the bid came in higher, it doesn't necessarily mean that that will be the end amount. So I do think that, as Ms. Hall said as well, that we are prepared to cover for any additional expenses that we have that may come about.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I have two comments. One is I'd like to point out that there is no emergency clause on this document. And the second item is, Mr. Mosby, would you also require an appropriation to help cover that additional cost?
Mr. President? So to address the first issue that Ms. Zorb raised, I believe that in the charter, it does mention that if there is a piece of legislation that is passed and as it pertains to finances, that it can go into effect immediately. It would be effective immediately. And to Ms. Zorb, what was your second question? I apologize. I just skipped my mind.
The second one, do you need an appropriation? But I would say that this document is not about money. It's about executing a contract.
Right, but the reason that we're doing it is because the amount of the contract is above the threshold that I'm allowed. But the appropriation, if it was needed, we have money in the street fund, but if we did need to, for some reason, to move money or to make an adjustment to an appropriation, then yes, that would be done in a special ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings of Resolution 12, 2021. The motion was made by Ms. Underwood, the second by Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask a question at this point. My heart is bleeding for Ms. Dukes-Dean. This is such unfamiliar territory. I recommend that she still keep her first vote, but of course, if I say it, then I can't take it back. So I would let you know, Ms. Dukes-Dean, that at this point, it's just a yes or a no answer. If you want to suspend, no. If you don't want to suspend. Or abstain. No answer is wrong.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Wolf.
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes to abstain.
I'm sorry, yes to abstain?
I don't think she can.
Oh, suspend, yes to
I'm
suspend.
sorry.
Yes.
Hang on a
Mr. Miller,
second, because that was not necessarily a correct instruction. You can't abstain in our council rules unless you have a conflict of interest. I don't know that I ever necessarily agree with that rule, but I think it's the same way. So unfortunately, I think it's yes or no, because she couldn't possibly have a conflict of interest unless she owns a construction company rebuilding Sunvale. So,
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
So, correction is noted, and she did say suspend. She meant suspend.
Okay, Ms. Underwood?
okay.
well, I'll, you know what, I'll withdraw that comment that I was about to
Okay.
make. Never mind. It wasn't about Ms. Dukestein. I was just, never mind. I'll withdraw that though.
Well, I'll just say
Please.
yes. Was that
Her answer was yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Blythe,
No.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes,
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. President, motion to suspend second and third passes by a vote of 6-1.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we adopt resolution 12-2021.
Mr. President,
Okay, we have Ms. Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson to adopt Resolution 12-2021. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
yes?
Ms. Blythe,
No.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes,
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 6-1.
Okay, thank you. Ms. DeWald, just before we get to the third reading here for Resolution 11, just want to take a minute here to talk about the fact that I think we can all agree that there are opportunities in our fire department. I know we can all agree that this is a large amount. No one is denying that a 12 mil levy is a large amount. But this is a proposed solution that has many hours of study and debate behind it that was performed by the mayor's task force. It is a proposed solution that has the support of the fire department and the administration. And the money that this levy would or could produce, with this money, our fire department can hire more full-time staff, ensure competitive pay, increase staffing availability around the clock, and manage funding for much-needed capital expenses. If you look around, our neighbors have all recently improved fire department funding, and this reduces our leverage in mutual aid. To be sure, there are citizens in support of this too. So I do urge the members of this body to represent all of NCH, not just those that agree with you. This is not a vote of support of the fire levy, merely a vote to put it on the ballot to let the citizens of NCH decide.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I do not disagree with one word you just said. I merely disagree with the amount of the millage, and I truly believe that we can get to the same amount with a different millage, and it's just the matter of the timing of property values increasing. So with that said, I would like to make a motion that we move Resolution 11-2021 back to committee, to the Finance Committee, because that will be the next meeting that meets, the next committee that meets, and discuss whether or not we can reduce that millage.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller Novak?
Well, I'd like to discuss because, I mean, the reality is I'm not going to like foreclose the opportunity for more discussion, but I think the danger of powering through this vote here is that There's an old saying, like an unsure or confused mind says no. So I understand what you want to do, Mary Jo, and I don't think you're going to be doing a service to not allow us to have some conversation here, if that's okay, regarding whether or not we have the time to do that. So I would like to take a minute to discuss the process, because if the result is we don't have enough time to do it, I'm going to vote no. If the result is we do, I'm going to consider your vote. So do we mind giving a little bit of time to Ron or Ari or whatever we need to do to kind of figure out what that process is, due dates, whether or not we have to get the same thing done that was already done again, and all that stuff? I mean, what do we got to do?
Mr. Mosby, would you like to give some clarification on the timeline, I guess, to start?
I guess I can do that to the best of my ability, Mr. President. I will be the first to admit that I have not been in this particular position before. However, if I understand the motion correctly, the motion, the motion would seek to put it back into committee. However, if the ultimate objective is to change the millage, then we would have to go back to the auditors. We'd have to go back to the Hamilton County Auditor and then get a different certificate. So in essence, what we would be doing is really kind of changing the process in midstream, and that would affect the amount of time. Now, to be clear, if that also happened, I do believe, and Mr. Dieters, I'm sorry, is not here right now. However, I do think that if that happened, then that would require a completely separate piece of legislation, which means that it would have to go back through the same two-step process that we used to get to this point. I would like to remind council that this process started, we're in May now, and we started this process about 4 months ago. So so I don't know that there would be enough time to actually go through, those processes unless, council was saying, or council was willing to say, okay, we'll have whatever number of special meetings would be necessary in order to pass this within the allotted time frame.
And I'd hate to
Mr.
put you on the spot. Hang on there, Mr. Miller Novak.
That's okay.
What is the actual deadline to be on the November ballot?
90 days.
Mr. President, it is Wednesday. I believe it's August. It's the first Wednesday in August, which I believe is the 4th.
Okay.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Miller Novak?
how long did
Go
that,
ahead, sir.
remind me, how long did that certification take from the auditor?
The actual time from when we submitted council's resolution and getting it back was probably a couple of weeks.
Okay. So, Ms. Zorb, how long are you suggesting one committee meeting?
Just
I mean,
one.
we don't
It's
have-
yours. Your committee meets on the 10th, next Monday. It could theoretically be the resolution to the county auditor could theoretically be back on the agenda by 5/17.
Yeah, well, Ms. Hall, I think someone has to do the math. I mean, it's not, don't be insulted by this, but I mean, someone that, like, that's their job, profession, I'd want her to weigh in on whether or not that's as accurate, right? I think we all agree on that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby?
I just want to clarify again, what would have to happen is that a resolution would need to be passed with whatever the changed amount is. So it's not as if to say that we can go to committee says, okay, let's change it, and then all of a sudden we can send it off. It has to be voted on. The resolution, the passed resolution, then has to be sent to the Hamilton County auditors. So we can't, in other words, I can't just tonight, if they say, okay, let's forward this to committee, or let's refer this back to committee. In the meantime, let's go to the auditors to see what certification we would be able to see on whatever millage is proposed. It has to be formally voted on and passed by council, and that is the legislation that will be used in order to begin the process of certification.
Mr.
Well, that's
President,
correct. We
I've-
could either suspend the
kind of what I
readings or
was-
have. I'm sorry, Mary Jo,
Disorder.
that was my bad.
I believe that's kind of where I was going with that, is we could potentially talk about it in finance. And it could be that resolution to go to the county auditor could be back on the agenda by the 17th, by the next council meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move resolution 11, 2021 to the finance committee by Ms. Zorb. Need a second.
Oh, I'll second the motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Blythe to move resolution 11, 2021 back to the finance committee. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
I vote no.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
No.
Mr. Miller Novak,
No.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes?
Ms. Hartman,
No.
Ms. Anderson,
No.
Mr. President, motion to move to committee fails with a vote of 4-3.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. Ms. Anderson?
I know I don't have to, but I just want to give my reason for why I voted no. I just think that, especially with Ms. Hall's suggestion of how much would be sustainable for NCH, I think that it is a perk that we'd get more bang for our buck with the 12 mil. I know that it was kind of a compromise to come to the 12 mil, and so that's why I'm voting no for it to get moved back to committee. I just wanted to explain myself so that way people and everybody kind of understands where I'm coming from. I think it's important that we make this as sustainable as possible. That way we don't have to come back and ask for much more later. So I just wanted to give my quick little reasoning, if that's okay. Thanks for listening.
Mr.
Thank you,
President,
Ms. Anderson. Ms. Underwood?
I actually think that Mr. Wald said the vote was 4-3. I think it was 5-2.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Did not catch that.
I'm so sorry. The vote is 5-2.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood.
Thank you.
I did not catch that. We're all right. All right, please proceed with legislation, Ms. DeWald.
Third reading of Resolution 11, 2021. A resolution determining to proceed with levying a replacement tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby?
I would just like to offer a little bit of insight as well. I really appreciate Councilmember Anderson's comment. And I do want to reiterate that the amount of millage that was placed on this proposed resolution was indeed a compromise. There were amounts that were recommended that were as low as 7 mils. There were amounts that were as high as 17. No one initially even recommended or suggested 12. It came about as a result of discussion, as a result of finding out what the need would be. For example, if the proposed millage had been, let's say, seven would not have been sufficient to provide us with really what we needed, which was to have three full-time firefighters on staff. This is really critical because of what Mr. Miller Novak said earlier. And that is that we at least want to be able to cover at a minimum, one run ourselves. Without that, we would need the mutual aid from the other fire departments. And that is the reason at the time that the 12 mills was proposed. So the people who recommended 15 and 17 didn't get what they want. The people who recommended 7 and 10 didn't get what they want. It was a compromise as a result of, as you said, Mr. President, earlier, a lot of work and a lot of time that was put in by people who sacrificed their time. And again, it was from both sides. If I may, I really would like to compliment the mayor, because she did have people that came from all sides of the aisle in order to do this. And so I really do hope that members of council would consider that in their vote. This was not something that was brought about lightly. It was not flippant in any way. This process started nearly a year ago, went through several meetings, even before we got to the first piece of legislation necessary to have the county auditors certify the valuation. So I did want to stress that. And again, I did want to thank Councilmember Anderson for her comment and insight.
Mr. President,
Underwood.
I would just like to say that I was one of the people who participated on the fire task force at the request of the mayor. And I will say that just like Mr. Mosby said, there were people there who thought, that 7 mills is plenty. And there were people like myself who wanted 17. And I think that there was significant discussion, there was significant debate, and those meetings were not closed. Anyone was welcome to come to those meetings at any time. And I will also say that I encouraged throughout that process, everyone to go and meet individually with Chief Fells, to ask him questions, to take a tour of the fire department, to see what he does with the resources, and to see why, he was asking for the resources he was asking for, and also to get some insight into things that we may not necessarily be able to discuss in a public forum like this. I will say that Ms. Anderson actually did take the opportunity to do that. She met with Chief Fells, she toured the fire department. And I think that meeting with him and taking a tour and asking those kinds of questions one-on-one makes a difference. It just does. And so I would just like to say that I wasn't necessarily in agreement with 12, but for different reasons. I think that we deserve better. I think that we deserve the best. We deserve a brand new building with, full-time staffing and, all the bells and whistles that come with, a shiny new fire department, but I also understand compromise. So I respect that. I respect the process. And I would just ask that everybody just take that information into consideration when thinking about the fire levy. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Okay, we've had our third reading. Mr. Miller Novak.
Yeah, I mean, I can echo some. It's what can you say? This is a really hard decision. I was not on the task force. I've listened to everybody's opinion. I know a lot of people are obviously going to be unhappy, and I know some are going to be less unhappy. Some people are going to begrudgingly vote for it, and some people are going to enthusiastically vote against it. Hence the nature of a levy. All I know is that I feel like our property taxes are not as high as Cincinnati, that's for sure. And at some point in time, you know, I hate to say it, but you know, we're gonna have to invest or we're just not gonna get anything out of it. And I know that the property values of homes went up, but you know, they're also subject to come back down. And that's a concern I have. And I did think about it long and hard here. And I think we can talk about it, revisit it, talk about it. But I think the people are just going to have to make a choice, and they may vote yes, and then it's going to be what it's going to be, or they may vote no. We're going to have to pull back out the chalkboard. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And, you know, so I would have, in a perfect world, I wouldn't mind discussing it again. That's why it took so long to vote. But I don't know. It just seems like the time crunch is just, it just didn't seem very doable to me. That's all.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood,
I move that we adopt resolution 11-2021.
motion to adopt resolution 11-2021 made by Ms. Underwood.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson to adopt resolution 11-2021. Any discussion? Ms. DeWald, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes Dean,
I believe I saw her mouth move, but I didn't hear.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything there, Ms. Dukestein. Can you try again, please?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me better now?
Mm.
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
No.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
No.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood, let me take a moment to count to make sure I have it correct. I have the motion to adopt passes 5-2.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. All right, next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. There is no one in the room here and there are no attendees online. So we will move to old business. First thing on that is we still have committee replacements. We need volunteers for.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
which committees? I feel like you say this every meeting.
OKI, CRA, and TIF.
I thought someone volunteered for TIF. Didn't Mary Jo volunteer? I'm not trying to throw her under the bus. Am I just wrong?
Ms. Zorb volunteered to temporarily do CRA and TIF, but according to this, I said no. We wouldn't allow it.
You did. You shot me down.
Yeah. We determined that we didn't want to get into temporary replacements and we would table it till we had full council.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe.
what does OKI, CRA, and TIF, what do the abbreviations stand for, please?
Mr. President.
In Indiana.
Mr. Mosby.
So, Ms. Blythe, OKI is the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments. That is a group that is composed of all of the municipalities in the tri-state area. It includes Indiana as well as Kentucky. And they make decisions on particularly infrastructure and transportation in the region. The other two, which are the CRA, the CRA is the Community Reinvestment Act. When someone applies for a benefit under the Community Reinvestment Act, they would be granted the amount. And basically what the CRA does is allows for a tax abatement for any amount of improvement that is done to a piece of property, and I'm talking about residential right now, that exceeds the amount of $2,500. And so they would not have to pay tax on the amount that is above $2,500, excuse me, not pay any amount. They would actually have a 50% abatement of the additional tax on any amount of improvement over $2,500. However, there is also a catch, and that catch is that we are required to have a committee that would inspect the property every year for 10 years to make sure that those improvements are there, and that the house is being maintained, that the residents are there, in the property. So that would be the CRA, and then the TIF, which is tax incremental financing, would be for, well, I'm using the commercial business district. Basically what it does is it sets up a fund in lieu of taxes. And so we would need a group to be a part of that fund. We haven't had anyone as of yet. There is one application for a CRA, but we haven't had any applications for TIF since I've been here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb.
might I add, I believe the OKI meets, I want to say every third Thursday, and it's like at 10 a.m. It's
Correct.
during
It's
the
during
day.
the day.
Mm. The other two, I believe, are in the evening.
Mhm.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller Novak.
I mean, with OKI, I just don't know that anybody's gonna be able to do it. I mean, it's just to think everybody has a day job. I think Amber did it because she did.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think this is going to be a problem. I think that's why no one's jumping to it. My belief on TIF, and the other one, what's the other one? I'm just having a complete.
Sorry.
Right. Which one?
Community reinvestment.
Oh,
CRA.
yeah,
Community
the
Reinvestment.
CRA, right. I don't even know that CRA is actively meeting currently, to my understanding, right? I'm not even sure if TIF is.
That would be correct, Mr. Miller Novak. Neither are, and as I mentioned, there's only one applicant that we've had for CRA, and that is on the new construction that is occurring on Merle Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would throw my hat into the ring for one of those. I guess knowing that it would be, I'm guessing, not very time demanding since it hasn't been meeting. So I don't want to let this be a hanging chad we discuss every meeting. So I'll throw myself under the bus on one. But I mean, I do have to just express the belief. I don't know that we're ever going to get anybody to do OKI because everybody has a day job here, and the only person that's ever been able to do in the past is one that didn't.
Mhm. Yeah.
So do you want to flip a coin to which one that you're throwing yourself into?
Well, no, being that I'm the first volunteer, I mean, honestly, if the administration has a preference for my involvement in one or the other, I would volunteer to do whatever is more urgent or important, I guess.
TIF.
TIF it is.
Ms. Nichols said TIF.
TIF it is.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
what day of the week is the other evening one on?
It only happens when it needs to happen.
And which one is that?
CRA.
Well, that's
And I
both.
think Mr.
Right?
Yeah, they both happen on an as needed basis, correct?
That's right.
Right, but the
And CRA is only met once in quite a while.
but OKI is in the mornings when it does happen.
It's a regularly scheduled meeting in the mornings.
Okay.
Mm.
I will take that evening one, but I don't fully understand what I'm supposed to do for it, and I'll willingly admit that. So if anybody wants to help me, or if anybody else wants to take it, please do. But kind of like what Mr. Miller Novak said, just that we don't have to keep on calling it out. If anybody wants it, take it. But if not, I'll take that other evening one.
Ms. Anderson, I mean, we can, after the council meeting or, at some other time, I can certainly fill you in on what would be necessary.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll take that one then.
Thank you. Did we solidify this with a vote? It's just strictly volunteer, right? Okay, I do appreciate the volunteers. I'll take 2 out of 3.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I have a question for Ms. Dukes-Dean. I didn't know if you wanted to join any committees this time, or if you still want like a little bit of time to think about it and to view them all. But I didn't know if you wanted some space to volunteer at all.
I definitely want to volunteer. I was going to attend all of the different committee meetings and then kind of fill in where I thought I best fit. But if there's an imminent need, I can operate there.
I'll just plug my own community and recreation. It's quite wonderful committee to be a part of, but no pressure.
None.
Mr. President.
Okay.
Ms. Dukes-Dean, I mean, typically what you might want to consider, and I mean, and I'm not trying to block my own, but this is going to happen, that, it's not a bad idea to pick 2 committees that are on the same day. If you can roll that out. So we're on Ms. Anderson's is 6:30 on the second Monday of every month, and my committee, that's just budget and finance, is at 7:30 after that. Just saying. You do one, do the other, then you get one Monday off.
I would just ask, so I missed Anderson, or no, it was Miss Underwood. She invited me to her committee, but I didn't get invites for the others to be able to attend.
Ours actually haven't happened since that was in like April. A while. Well, obviously her last one was in April too, duh. But our last one was like at the beginning of April. So I'm not sure if you had been inaugurated at that point yet. But I can definitely send you, I should be sending out the agenda for next week's meeting by like Wednesday evening or Thursday morning kind of thing. So I'll definitely include you in that email, and you're obviously welcome to come.
And make
Thank
sure
you.
she gets the in
Mr.
to the
President,
ICRC.
I was going to say, I have already instructed ICRC to send her invitations to all committee meetings until she gets to
Thank you, Ms. Zorb.
feel out where she would like to fall.
You're a fine liaison to ICRC.
I try. See if I can do it in my off time.
All right, any other old business? We'll move to new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
this is not really new business. I probably should have, maybe should have said it during call of members. I'm not really sure. I did want to give council an update on what happened with the kind of the legal process with the little boy who was hit by the car in North College Hill. So the man who hit him was charged with a felony, and there was a trial. However, my understanding is that They could not find the mom. They could not find the little boy. So there were no witnesses other than the two North College Hill police officers who responded to the scene, and the man was found not guilty in a trial. And it just so happened that I was in the courthouse that day, and I was kind of sitting in the back of the courtroom watching what was happening. So I kind of saw what was going on, and I thought I would just give everyone an update about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Last call for new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb,
I hear no one else speaking up, so I'd like to make a motion. We adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion to adjourn by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Underwood. Please call the roll, Ms. DeWolf.
Ms. Jukestein,
I think she said yes.
That was a yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. President, motion to adjourn passes 7-0.
All right, thank you. Don't forget to vote tomorrow, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Good night.
All right. See ya.